Chapter 55. Why I Changed My Mind. Who else did Mr. Tushman call? I asked Mom later that night. Did he tell you? He mentioned Julian and Charlotte. Julian, I said. Ugh, why Julian? You used to be friends with Julians. Mom, that was like in kindergarten. Julian's the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time. Well, said Mom, at least Julian agreed to help this kid out. Got to give him credit for that. I didn't say anything because she was right. What about Charlotte? I asked. Is she doing it too? Yes, Mom said. Of course she is. Charlotte's such a goody two shoes, I answered. Boy, Jack, said Mom, you seem to have a problem with everybody these days. It's just, I started. Mom, you have no idea what this kid looks like. I can't imagine. No, you can't. You've never seen him. I have. It might not even be who you're thinking it is. Trust me, it is. I'm telling you, it's really, really bad. He's deformed, Mom. His eyes are like down here. I pointed to my cheeks. And he has no ears. And his mouth is like blah blah blah. Jamie had walked into the kitchen to get a juice box from the fridge. Ask Jamie, I said. Right, Jamie? Remember the kid that we saw in the park after school last year? The kid named August, the one with the face? Oh, that kid, said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. He gave me a nightmare. Remember, Mommy? That nightmare about the zombies from last year? I thought that was from watching a scary movie, answered Mom. No, said Jamie. It was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, and I ran away. Wait a minute, said Mom, getting serious. Did you do that in front of him? I couldn't help it, said Jimmy, kind of whining. Of course you could help it, Mom scolded. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing here. And she looked like how she sounded. I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can't you imagine how he felt to see you running away from him? Jamie, screaming? It wasn't a scream, argued Jamie. It was like an ah. He put his hands on his cheeks and started running around the kitchen. Come on, Jamie, said Mom angrily. I thought, I honestly thought my boys were more sympathetic than that. What sympathetic, said Jamie, who was only going into the second grade. You know exactly what I meant by sympathetic, Jamie, said Mom. It's just he's so ugly, Mommy, said Jamie. Hey, Mom yelled. I don't like that word, Jamie. Just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second. Look, Jack, said Mom as soon as he left, and I knew she was about to give me a whole speech. Okay, I'll do it, I said, which completely shocked her. You will? Yes. So I can call Mr. Tushman. Yes, Mom, yes, I said yes. Mom smiled. I knew you'd rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie. She messed up my hair. So here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I wouldn't have to hear Mom give me a whole lecture. And it wasn't to protect this kid, August, from Julian, who I knew could be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he had run away from August going, I suddenly felt really bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance in middle school.
Four things. First of all, did you get used to his face? The first couple of times I was like, wow, I'm never going to get used to this. And then, after about a week, I was like, it's not so bad. Second of all, he is actually a really cool dude. I mean, he is pretty funny. Like, the teacher will say something, and August will whisper something funny to me that no one else hears and totally make me crack up. He is also just overall a nice kid. Like, he is easy to hang out with and talk to and stuff. Third of all, he is really smart. I thought he'd be behind everyone because he hadn't gone to school before, but in most of things, he's way ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Ximeno, but he is up there. And unlike Charlotte or Ximeno, he lets me cheat off of him if I really need to. Though I only needed to a couple of times. He also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for it after class. The two of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Miss Robin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say, because the explanation would have been, "Oh, that's because I copied August's homework." But August liked to protect me. He was like, "Oh, that's because we did our homework together last night," which wasn't true at all. "Well, doing homework together is a good thing," Miss Rubin's answer. "But you are supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do your homework together, okay? Got it?" After we left the classroom, I said, "Dude, thanks for doing that." And he was like, "No problem." That was cool. Fourthly, now that I know him, I would say I actually do want to be friends with August. At first, I admitted I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be especially nice and all that. But now I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at all my joke, and I kind of feel like I can tell August anything, like he is a good friend. Like, if all the guys in the fifth grade were lined up against a wall and I got to choose anyone I wanted to hang out with, I would choose August.
Ex-friends. Bleeding scream, what the heck? Summer Dawson has always been a bit out there, but this was too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know, and all she said was bleeding scream. I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day me and August were friends, and the next day he was hardly talking to me, and I haven't the slightest idea why. When I said to him, "Hey August, you mad at me or something?" he shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for a fact that I didn't do anything to him to be mad about, I figured someone could tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. You know, I've got plenty of other friends in school, so if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. That is okay by me. See if I care. I've started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now. This is actually kind of hard since we sit next to each other in practically every class. Other kids have noticed and have started asking me if me and August have had a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with other than me is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kingsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the plague behind his back, because no one ever really told me about it directly. But my point is that it's not like he has a whole lot of friends he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the only one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like, I'll say, "What did Rubin say the homework was?" And he'll answer, or he'll be like, "Can I use your pencil sharpener?" And I'll get my sharpener out of my pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good? Because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they have to hang out with him, or they would keep things from me like the whole thing about the plague. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. And the truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group, and he's just as far from the popular group as you can get. But now I can hang out with everyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad is because, well, A, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with a popular group that much, and B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up, and it's all August's fault.
Snow. The first snow of winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about this whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up to a snow day is just about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars honking, no buses going down the street. Then you run over to the window. And outside, everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on the street, your window panes. And when that happens on a school day, and you find out your school is closed, well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that that's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be the one of those grown-ups that using an umbrella when it's snowing, ever. That school was closed too, so he took me and Jamie sliding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck when sliding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if it is actually true or just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted the banked up wooden sled, kind of propped up against the old Indian rock monument. Dad had to leave it. It was just garbage, but something told me it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I super glued the broken slats together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing white with a paint I had gotten from alabaster sphinx I was making for the Egyptian museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lining in gold letter on the middle piece of wood, and I made little lining bold symbol of both letters. It looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad realized, "Wow, Jackie, you were right on about the sled." The next day, we went back to Skeleton Hill with lining. It was the fastest thing I've ever ridden. So much faster than the plastic sleds we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow had become crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on lining all afternoon. We were in the park until our finger was frozen and our lips had turned a little blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to blush. When we got back to school on Monday, there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation, a slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside too. I nodded hey to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers. He nodded hey back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't.
Chapter 59. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brownie's December precept was Fortune favors the bold. We were all supposed to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how, because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot, to be truthful. I have to say that I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read this out loud, or Mr. Brownie would put them up on the bulletin board like he does sometimes. So instead, I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from.
Chapter 60 Private School. My parents are not rich. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to a private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and mom's a social worker, which means they don't have those kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Bishop Pratt. We don't live in a big townhouse or in one of those dormant buildings around the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up. We rent from an old lady named Donna Petcher all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, but it's like Paris, I said, like an idiot. Believe me, it's so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee! I laugh. Sometimes Julian could be very funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you doing over break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that is so amazing. I was about to tell them about Lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Hammer's Glamour. It's so state of the art. How could a sled be state of the art? Said Julian. It was like $800 or something. Wow, we should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding? I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why it's called Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eye and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground, duh, he said. Anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old slot there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk, and someone took it too. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding, laughed Julian. Where did you leave it? I said. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill, and I went back the next day and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all up to this golf course in Westchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I had started to walk away. I forgot to get a book out of my locker. I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the hobo who had taken the sled.
Wonder Challenge, Day 7. Chapter 4 in Science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. I like some part of the school like PE and computer class, and lunch and recess. But all in all, I will be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough. It's not enough that we have to sit through after class and try to stay awake while they fill our head with all this stuff we will probably never need to know. Like how to figure out the surface area of a cube, or what is the difference between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I hate science the most out of all my classes. We get so much work. It's not even funny. And the teacher, Miss Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our heading on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his note. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly, with really small round loopy letter. But now that we are ex-friends, so it's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his note anymore. So I was kind of scampering today, trying to take notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the fifth grade science fair project. We all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the freaking FG project. Now we have to start a whole new thing. And then in my head, I was going, oh no, like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hand on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those picture of melting ghost face I was seen somewhere, where the mouth are open wide and they're screaming. And then all of a sudden this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew that Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me this flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, this was August. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I've been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time, and I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I just was going along. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh God. He was supposed to come as for Boba Fett. I would never have said that stuff in front of Boba Fett, but that was him. That bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood, the mouth open wide, like the girl was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke.
Trevor 62. Partners. I didn't hear a word of what Miss Rubin was saying after that. Science fair project, blah blah blah. Partners, blah blah. It was like the way grown ups talking Charlie Brown movies, like someone talking underwater. Underwater. Then all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing to kids around the class, Reid and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Seymour, August and Jack. She pointed to us when she said that Morris and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah, and I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partners to choose a project from the list, guys, said Miss Rubin as everyone started taking off. I looked up at August, but he had already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, "Looks like you and your best bud are partners." He was smirking when he said this. I hated him so much right then. "Hello, to Jackwell," he said when I didn't answer him. "Shut up, Julian." I was putting my loose leaf binder away in my backpack and just wanted him away from me. You must be so bummed. You got stuck with him," he said. "You should tell Miss Ruby you want to switch partners. I bet she could let you." "No, she couldn't," I said. "Ask her." "No, I don't want to." Miss Rubin," Julian said, turning around and raising his hands at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned when she heard her name. "No, Julian," I whispered, screamed. "What is it, boys?" she said impatiently. "Could we switch partners if we wanted to?" said Julian, looking very innocent. "Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we wanted to work on together." "Well, I guess we could arrange that," she started to say. "No, it's okay, Miss Rubin," I said quickly, heading out the door. "Bye." Julian ran after me. Why did you do that?" he said, catching up to me at the stairs. "We could have been partners. You don't have to be friends with that freak if you don't want to be, you know." And that's when I punched him right in the mouth.
Detention. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even try. You don't know where to start. Your sentence would jumble off like a giant knot if you open your mouth. Any words you use would come out wrong. "Jack, this is very, very serious," Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on a chair across his desk and looking at this picture of a pumpkin on the wall behind him. "Kids get expelled for this kind of thing. Jack, I know you're a good kid and I don't want that to happen, but you have to explain yourself." "This is so not like you, Jack," said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they had called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and really surprised. "I thought you and Julian were friends," said Mr. Tushman. "We're not friends," I said. My arm was crossed in front of me. "But to punch someone in the mouth." "Jack," said Mom, raising her voice. "I meant, what were you thinking?" She looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He just knocked like that. "Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack," said Mr. Tushman. "You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that?" "It was just a baby tooth," I said. "Jack," said Mom, shaking her head. "That's what the nurse Molly said." "You missed the point." "You're missing the point," Mom yelled. "I just want to know why," said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulder. "It would just make everything worse," I sighed. "Just tell me, Jack." I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he would go to talk to Julian about it. Then Julian would tell him how I had bad-mouthed August too, and everyone would find out about it. "Jack," said Mom. I started to cry. "I'm sorry." Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hand like you do when your hands are cold. "Jack," he said, "I don't really know what to say here. I meant, you punch a kid. We have rules about that kind of things, you know." automatic expulsion, and you are not even trying to explain yourself. I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for the winter break as the next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week? And then after winter break, you will come back and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate, so to speak. Am I being suspended? I sniffed. Well, he said, struggling. Technically, yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I will tell you what, while you are at home, you take the time to think about what happened. And if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened, and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put any of this in your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning we will figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything is going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know, thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said to me, putting his hands on my shoulders, think about what